Welcome to the deep dive. And, today we are doing something a bit different. I want you to picture a mental slide deck.
Right, like a presentation.
Exactly, a high stakes presentation. Slide one is just a giant, glaring question about one of the biggest global assumptions we make about power and gender.
The assumption that forcing women into political power automatically buys them economic independence.
Yes, because, people think a seat at the table means a paycheck in the bank. They think political quotas just magically fix the economy overnight.
It's the standard narrative.
Right, totally.
Um,
But what if that is just a beautiful global misunderstanding?
well, to figure that out, we are looking at a massive social experiment in India. Millions of women,
Yeah.
a sudden political shift, and an economic result that literally nobody predicted.
And we're using this incredible source today. It's a groundbreaking 2014 working paper from the National Bureau of Economic Research by economists Ejaz Ghani, William R. Kerr, and Stephen D. O'Connell.
Yeah, and they essentially took a magnifying glass to this massive paradox.
Right. So let's look at slide one of our mental presentation, the great myth of power and bread.
Many people just naturally assume that if you reserve seats for women in politics, a massive surge in female employment and income will just, naturally follow.
Because the world loves a simple cause and effect story. The assumption is that female politicians will get elected, they'll pass laws, and they will immediately hire female workers.
Exactly. It seems like basic arithmetic.
Right. I want you to imagine being a policymaker. You write the law, you mandate the quota, you expect the economy to transform the very next day. It seems like common sense.
But human economies don't obey simple arithmetic. That's the trap. The connection between a politician's gavel and a woman's factory job is incredibly complex.
Which brings us to slide two, divided India. Because to really see this disconnect, we have to look at India in 2011.
Right, 2011 is a crucial year for this data.
Why does the dazzling spotlight of the political stage completely fail to illuminate the incredibly difficult job hunting path of millions of lower-class Indian women?
Because the contrast is staggering. In 2011, India ranked 19th out of 135 countries globally for female political empowerment.
19th. They were crushing it on the political stage.
They really were. But at the exact same time, female participation in the actual economy was lagging massively behind almost every developed nation.
So visualize a bar chart right now. On the left side, you have their political ranking. It's a towering skyscraper.
And on the right side, economic participation. It's a tiny, struggling sapling.
It's crazy.
It is, because high political rank usually correlates with wealth and workforce parity. But India broke the model. Women had the vote and they had the seats, but they did not have the jobs.
So how did they even get that towering political skyscraper in the first place? That brings us to slide three, the 1993 reforms.
Ah, yes. The reform from the sky.
Right, because you have to ask, can a top-down, state-enforced political quota truly shatter the deeply rooted clan, caste, and gender walls of rural India, walls that have stood for thousands of years?
It's a huge question. We're talking about the 73rd and 74th constitutional amendments of 1993.
The law essentially mandated that local village councils, the panchayats, had to reserve at least 1/3 of their leadership seats exclusively for women.
33%, just overnight.
It's like dropping a massive boulder into a stagnant pond. This
Right.
wasn't a polite suggestion from the government. It was a constitutional mandate. Boom.
And the sheer scale of this change is hard to overstate.
Yeah.
It decentralized power and put women directly in charge of local infrastructure budgets.
Right, a massive institutional dividend.
But the question is, did it actually work?
Which brings us to our first massive face slap of the data. Slide four, the cruel reality.
Prepare for a shock here.
Yeah, because after this massive political awakening, female employment in the manufacturing sector saw absolutely zero growth.
Zero. The researchers ran the empirical models. They looked at data from both the organized and unorganized manufacturing sectors between 1994 and 2005, and it showed no statistically significant increase in overall female employment. The trend line is flat.
Wait, I need to process this. You put women in charge, you give them 33% of the political power, and they didn't create jobs for women.
That did not.
The trend line is a flat heartbeat, a total flat line. So did the policy just fail?
Well, the policy didn't fail, but it mutated. The wage labor market didn't budge because established factories just weren't hiring more women.
But a flat line in employment has to be hiding something, right?
Exactly. It hides an explosion somewhere else. If employment didn't grow, we have to ask why the number of female-founded businesses suddenly doubled.
Which is slide 5, the silent revolution. and ownership hurricane.
If this explosion of millions of female bosses wasn't caused by the whole industry expanding, we have to figure out whose business territory they stole.
Right, because the pie didn't get bigger. Let's hit the data. In 1994, women owned 9% of businesses in this sector.
By 2005, it skyrocketed to 19%.
That is a growth rate of over 111%.
We are talking about 4.1 million new businesses owned by women.
It's literally a hurricane. The wage jobs stayed flat, but suddenly everyone is a boss. But honestly, this is totally anti-common sense to me.
How so?
You don't have a job, you can't get hired, so you just start a company. How do you even do that? And where?
Well, to understand where these millions of female CEOs operate, we have to look underground.
Slide 6. The massive underground empire.
Yes, the informal sector.
In a low-end underground industry that doesn't pay taxes, isn't registered, and has zero legal protection, is female entrepreneurship an act of empowerment? Or is it just institutionalized self-exploitation out of sheer desperation?
It's a dark question, but we need to define the unorganized sector first. These are workshops with fewer than 10 employees.
Or fewer than 20 if they don't use electricity.
Exactly. Astoundingly, this unorganized sector accounts for 99% of all manufacturing businesses in India.
99%.
And over 80% of all manufacturing employment.
So 99% of the manufacturing pie is completely off the books. This is the rawest, most unfiltered form of capitalism.
It really is. It's not Silicon Valley startup culture. This is the shadow economy.
Yeah.
It's an empire, but it's an empire built on dirt floors.
Okay, so we have this massive boom in dirt floor businesses, but how do we prove the 1993 political quota actually caused this boom?
We need a time machine.
Slide 7, the puzzle of time, a natural experiment.
Right. Why did some states finish their reforms in 1994 while others dragged their feet way into the 21st century?
Did the length of time perfectly align with the explosion of female businesses? Let's talk about the model they used.
Economists call it a differences in differences model. Not every state implemented the quota at the exact same time.
Right, they had to wait for existing local politicians' terms to expire.
Exactly. You couldn't just kick people out of office. So some states, like Karnataka, acted really early. Others were delayed by years.
And the staggered timeline is basically a researcher's dream, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. It creates a quasi-natural experiment. You can track exactly when the economic boom hit relative to the specific political election in that specific state.
But wait, I'm a skeptic. What if the local politicians cheated the system?
Which brings us to slide 8, pure data. The exogeneity check.
What if local elites manipulated the election timing based on how active local women already were? Because if they did, the whole theory falls apart.
But debunking this proves we are looking at a genuine scientific miracle of policy. The researchers looked at the 1994 baseline data.
And what did it show?
A perfectly flat line. There was absolutely zero correlation between the initial level of female entrepreneurship in a state and when that state actually implemented the reform.
Wow. So that is the ultimate face slap to the skeptics. It wasn't rigged. The data is pure.
Without using heavy jargon, there was no endogeneity. The elites couldn't manipulate the timeline. The political quota came first, definitively, and the business boom came second.
But the boom didn't happen overnight. It actually took a very specific amount of time, which is so weird.
Slide 9, the time lag, letting the bullet fly.
Right. Why didn't political power immediately turn into economic cash? During those lost 2 or 3 years, what were these lower-class women silently waiting for?
We have to look at the dynamic effects here. In the 1 to 3 years before the election, and the year of the election itself, nothing.
No growth at all.
But 2 to 4 years after the election, and especially 5+ years after, there's a massive 40% spike in the entry of new female-owned businesses.
40%.
And male businesses showed no such spike during that window.
But if I pass a law today, I want results tomorrow. Why did it take up to 4 years?
Because a political seed is a seed. It is not a magic wand. It takes time for a newly elected village council to pass a budget, to physically build something, and to change a local culture.
Okay, that makes sense. So while they waited for the culture to shift, a massive identity shift was brewing underground.
Slide 10, identity swap, from employee to partner.
This massive identity shift didn't increase the total number of jobs. Instead, it ruthlessly rewrote the underlying power structure of the entire labor market.
The math here is genuinely mind-bending. From 1994 to 2005, female-owned businesses increased by 4.1 million.
Right.
But total female workers only increased by 2.4 million.
Wait, so there are more new businesses than new workers? That means women's share of employment in female-owned businesses must have spiked.
It did, from 31% to 62%.
So imagine a funnel. Women are draining out of the employee side of male-owned businesses, and they are pouring straight into the boss side of their own businesses.
Exactly. The pie didn't get bigger. The slice was aggressively taken. Women basically hired themselves.
Okay, but where are all these newly minted female CEOs setting up their headquarters? They don't have office buildings.
Slide 11. The warm harbor. The rule of the household.
Because we always assume liberation means stepping out the front door, right?
We do.
So why, after a political awakening, did women flock in droves to lock themselves back inside their homes to run these businesses?
Look at the spatial reality of the data. 94% of these millions of new female businesses were household-based.
94%.
Yes. Growth in independent outside factories was almost non-existent for women.
Wait, 94% are operating out of their living rooms or their kitchens? This challenges literally everything we think about going to work.
It does. But it's a very pragmatic revolution. Household businesses accommodate child-rearing and domestic duties.
Right, because the quota didn't magically make the husband do the laundry.
Exactly. And it avoids the patriarchal pushback of leaving the home to work in public. It is liberation, yes, but it is liberation within very strict boundaries.
And the boundaries of what they produced were just as strict. Slide 12, traditional shackles.
The invisible industry borders.
Even with political power, why is the female commercial empire still trapped in the mud of rolling tobacco and weaving cloth?
The industry concentration data is wild. Over 90% of the new female businesses are locked in 6 traditional low-end sectors.
Textiles, tobacco like BD rolling wood products, food, furniture, and low-end chemicals like matches.
Right. High-end manufacturing. Practically zero.
So picture a bar chart. Tobacco and chemicals soar over 40% ownership, while technology is completely invisible.
Women didn't invent new industries here. They expanded the ones their mothers and grandmothers already knew. They utilized existing, highly localized female networks.
Which brings us to the harsh daily reality of these CEOs. Slide 13, queens of the dwarf kingdom.
The brutal survival stats.
These female bosses average only 1.35 employees, meaning it's mostly just the owner working entirely alone.
Is this a business triumph, or is it a desperate struggle to survive?
Let's compare male and female firms.
It's grim. Female firms output only 1% of what male firms do. Fixed assets, only 32% of a man's business. Labor productivity is drastically behind.
So we're essentially celebrating millions of women becoming queens of a dwarf kingdom. I have to ask, is this actually a win?
It's the harsh truth of the informal sector. It is microscopic scale. But for a woman who previously had zero income and zero autonomy, going from 0 to 1% is an infinite leap.
Okay, fair point. But skeptics will hear this and try to poke holes in the data. They'll say it's fake.
Let's smash those illusions right now. Slide 14, smashing illusion 1.
Is this just fake statistics? Are women just finally reporting businesses that already existed because they feel safer talking to a survey taker now that there's a female politician?
Did the statisticians get played? That's the reporting bias hypothesis?
Right.
But the researchers tore this apart. The NSSO survey is based on a strict physical population census, not tax registries.
And because they are informal, they don't pay taxes anyway.
Exactly. There is zero incentive to hide or show a business to evade taxes.
So illusion 1 is shattered. This isn't data dressing. This is a real physical economic revolution. But if the businesses are real, maybe it's just political corruption.
Slide 15, smashing illusion 2. Cronyism in contracts.
Did female politicians just use their new power to hand out lucrative government contracts to their female friends?
The government procurement hypothesis? The data is brutal here. Less than 1% of these informal businesses have any dealings with the government whatsoever.
Less than 1%. So a village woman rolling tobacco in her kitchen isn't securing a state supply contract.
Right. The milk of government funding is completely missing these tiny household shops.
Okay, if it's not government contracts, it must be banks giving out free money, right? Slide 16, smashing illusion 3, the microfinance miracle.
We all assume loans and microcredit created female entrepreneurs.
Every charity brochure says so.
But the data shows the exact opposite. Financial loans are the result, not the cause.
The financial support hypothesis falls apart.
Completely. Only 2 to 3% of female businesses use external loans. Compare that to 9% of men.
Wait, only 2%?
Yeah. Astoundingly, the businesses without external financing actually showed a higher elasticity, a stronger growth response.
This blows my mind. We are taught that capital creates business, but here, millions of women started businesses with zero bank loans.
The loans arrived late to the party. Women used their own pennies to start.
So if it wasn't fake numbers, wasn't government cronyism, and wasn't bank loans, what was the invisible hand driving millions of women to open businesses?
Slide 17. The invisible hand. The gender dividend of public goods.
A female politician fixing a dirt road or digging a well might seem trivial to a man, but to a woman, it is the lifeline that pulls her into the commercial world.
The infrastructure channel. Prior studies show female politicians invest heavily in drinking water, sanitation, and roads.
Right. These are gender-neutral public goods.
But they have a highly asymmetrical gender dividend. Let me explain the mechanics of time poverty.
Please do.
If a woman spends 4 hours a day walking to fetch water, she cannot start a business. She literally doesn't have the time.
Makes total sense.
But then the female politician builds a well in the center of the village. Suddenly, that woman gets 4 hours back every single day.
Wow.
The marginal cost of starting a home business drops to near zero because her time is freed up.
So the politician didn't give her a business loan. She gave her time. And she used that time to become an entrepreneur. That is incredible.
But there was something else, too. Something you can't build with bricks and mortar.
Slide 18. Mind awakening. Role models and aspirations.
Having a female village chief doesn't just change local laws. It rewrites the psychological code of every little girl in the village.
It makes her believe, I can own my own shop, too.
We call this the inspiration channel. Studies show that female leaders dramatically reduce male prejudice.
Right, seeing a woman lead changes the men's perspective.
But more importantly, they ignite the educational and occupational aspirations of young women. It's a mental chain reaction. Visibility of a leader leads to the weakening of bias, which leads to a massive spike in ambition.
And this perfectly explains the 2 to 4 year time lag we talked about earlier.
Exactly.
It takes a few years for a girl to see the leader, change her worldview, convince her family, and start producing goods in her living room.
So we had the theory, but the researchers needed one final, undeniable proof.
Slide 19, the boundary regression, the ultimate proof.
Imagine 2 towns perfectly identical in climate, language, and culture, separated only by an invisible state border.
Why do the women on one side live entirely different commercial lives than the women on the other?
The border discontinuity analysis.
Yeah.
Researchers looked at 352 adjacent county pairs sitting right on state borders.
And they controlled for the 1994 baselines, right?
Yes. The county on the side that had the political quota longer had a significantly higher rate of female entrepreneurship in 2005.
This is the mic drop. You can't blame geography, you can't blame culture. The only difference is the law. The border battle proves the institution.
It's an airtight economic proof.
Which brings us to the end. Slide 20, historical reflection, empowerment, or new confinement.
We have to ask a very uncomfortable question about what this success actually means.
Right. We cheer for the millions of new female CEOs created by political quotas. But are we celebrating a stepping stone to true equality or just a new social incubator that permanently locks women into low-paying, invisible household labor?
It's a profound paradox. Political rights triggered an entrepreneurial wave, but it simultaneously solidified the informal, unorganized sector.
Because women moved from being unpaid domestic workers to making pennies a day as household business owners.
Exactly. While going from 0 to 1 is a miracle, getting permanently trapped at 1 is a tragedy. Is the developing world doomed to repeat this cycle?
You've seen the data. The quotas worked, but the reality is messy. So next time you hear a politician promise that a quota will magically fix the economy, ask yourself, are they building a ladder or just a slightly more comfortable cage? Think about that. Thanks for joining this deep dive.